Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today, and what an honor it is to bring back a friend of the program. And last time we had a pretty amazing hang, and then I asked him, if we could talk a little bit about the inherent cultural bias and racism within the Western cultures. And he said, Jake, we'd need a whole bottle of vodka or tequila to talk about that. And suffice it to say, he's in good hands right now at the VA hospital, being tended to amidst this virus, and his soul remains strong, and his vibrational abilities continue to lift people out of the doldrums on a daily basis. Gordon Edwards, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey, thank you. Before I start, do you have the vodka?
No, that's me and you in person, man. We just need to break that down face to face, because that. A little bit too early here in Tucson to start with drinking vodka. A couple hours, but
okay.
I'll
hold you to that.
Yeah, no, Gordon, there's two guys that I wanted to ask you about. I wasn't sure if you ever crossed paths with either of them, but they left this planet last week. One of them is Mike Longo, the pianist, and the other one is Ray Mantilla.
Okay, Longo I knew.
You knew Longo?
I didn't even know he died.
He passed away from coronavirus last week.
I've been there. You know, when it comes to dying, the music business is the worst thing to be in, because no one knows you're dead until you owe them some money.
Jeez.
It's the truth, man.
So what does that mean? From your experience, can you give an example of what you're talking about?
I'm talking about, there's 100 people that's died in the last couple of months, weeks that I've been in here because I have arthritis, and it gave me a knee replacement. The whole body is in great shape except my knee. And since I've been in here, I've heard different people that have died. Offhand, as I'm talking to them, their name will come to me. But you don't hear anything. People don't call people like human beings and say, guess who died? All they do is call you up and say, yo, man, you know that $25 I lent you last Thursday? That's it. Yeah. If you don't owe them no money, you don't hear nothing. And seeing that I owe nobody any money, I don't hear nothing.
In your experience, even in New York, back at the Brill Building, or when you were really cooking it,
right.
When you lost people along the way, I can't come up with a great example right now, but did you know geniuses? Can you talk about geniuses that you knew that were in the music industry that died broke?
That died broke?
Yeah.
I would say 90% of them died broke.
Who's not? Okay, so but we know Charlie Parker.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they were broke and were out on Skid Row selling pencils, but as far as the way they used to live, they died broke. For what? Cornell Dupree.
Okay.
Who is a greater guitarist than Cornell Dupree?
Nobody. Now Cornell was. That dude was down in Texas cooking the groove with Delbert McClinton. This guy, more studio sessions than ever before. Did he not get his royalty payments? I mean, was it poor? I don't know. Why did he want? Why did he want him broke?
What it is, it's a business where you live great. Everybody treats you with pat on the back. They're quick to buy you a drink, but they're very slow in saying. And in fact, even if they do say you need $1, our pride is so embedded in most of us that we won't accept it anyhow. It's like that, you're a big wheel in the Georgia cotton field. That's
Right.
the best way I can say it.
Your parents always told you, and actually this has sort of like been in my head a lot with all the recent events, but your parents always said to you, Gordon, there's always somebody that has it worse than you.
Well, and they weren't lying. I say that anytime I feel sorry for myself, I can get up out this bed, wheel my wheelchair down the hall, and go no more than 10 feet, and in front of me be somebody in this hospital, and I say, damn, look at him. And they're in worse shape than I am. They're uglier, they're poorer, they're in bad shape. But the world is the truth. You don't have to go far to find somebody in worse shape than you are. And when you talk about this disease that's going around, I remember my father and mother used to always read the Bible to me, and they said the big man up above said that if we keep on messing around, he's going to destroy this world with pestilence. And it's come to fact.
Can we just go back to Cornell for a minute? Was he
right.
was he actually ripped off, or did he make poor decisions and that's why he died broke?
Well, okay. If you want to call a spade, it's that he wasn't ripped off, but a lot of times he'd be on these albums, and the producers who were making the real money, they would give you a choice between, do you want this to go through the union, or would you rather lose $100? And at the time they asked you that, you took the $100 in cash. And even if it went through the union, you're only going to get $124, and then they're going to take tax out of that.
Mm-hmm.
People think when you hear the music on the radio that the people that played behind these people make money. We don't make a dime. We make money if it's a commercial. If it's a commercial that you hear, like right now, in fact, I talked to him just the other day, Jerry Jamot.
A great man, a classic man.
Oh, and he's a friend of mine, and we used to live together. And the thing was that we would sit there. I said, Jerry, you're going to be making it big because since I've been in this nursing home, every day on TV, I hear Think by Aretha Franklin. And I said to myself, wow, they're playing it like 10 times a day on different stations. And now I only hope that he's getting paid for that. Because a lot of times, when we make commercials, the people would say, hey, would you rather want a buyout? What's a buyout? Which means they'll tell you, we can give you $200 now, or you can get paid as it's being played. And a lot of times, you take the $200.
How much would you get? You're talking about played on the radio. Would you get paid every time it got played?
Yes, you would. But you see, the thing was, you'd only get maybe $3, $4 every time they played it on this station or any other station. But the idea is, it's how many times and how long they play it for. So
right. Well, I mean, some of the stuff you were on, it must have gotten thousands of plays.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't get $0. Once you get paid through the union, and when you played on the union job, you sign your little signature. It would go through the union, and then you would sit down, and she would get your check. And what would happen was, okay, the check would come to, if I remember, for a session, which was 3 hours. You would get something like, I would say, the session would come to like $160.
Right.
But by the time you get the check in the union people would get their money, the government would take out their money, that check would come to something like $98. And that's it. You don't see any more after that.
I just want to be clear, Gordon. This is really important. This is if you agreed to take the studio,
Right.
take the gig money. But if you chose, I don't know, Joe Cocker, let's just say,
Right.
if you chose to say, I don't want to get paid for this gig. I want to get, I don't know, maybe 6 months. After 6 months, I want to see how many times it's been played on the radio and how much I'm entitled to. How often did you do that?
You wish. I played on a lot of Joe Cocker's tunes, and it went through the union. He did it the right way. But I got paid, maybe it was like $142, and I've never seen a dime after that.
Okay, but I just want to be clear. I'm just trying to figure this out for myself. Like, obviously, people like Cornell. If I was a studio shark, you get
Right.
that money up front, and you're able to pay bills and get groceries and
That's
okay.
right.
I get that, but I mean,
Right.
did you?
Go on.
Is it true that you had an option to bypass the union rate and then go? How would and then go towards the actual amount of times it was played on the radio? Did you have that option?
No way. It was either or.
Either or.
That's right. You either get the cash right then and there,
Right.
or that was it. If you took the cash then, you wouldn't see that man again until he had another job for you.
Totally. So totally. But I mean, did you ever? Did you ever just say, I don't want to get paid right now. I'm going to wait to see if this.
Oh no. Oh yeah. If you say that, you won't see nothing at all.
So
I got people out here that I remember their faces, their names, and they haven't given me. They owe me money, and they know they owe me money. And one day before I leave this earth, if you give me put it in your book to give me a call back, say next year this time, I'm gonna have a list of all the people that took money from me that didn't pay me.
Okay, so Gordon Edwards is just on fire right now, and Jake Feinberg is just opening the bottle of tequila. So I'm just trying to figure out the reality.
That's how I got paid. You got the tequila, and I got the conversation.
Exactly. No, here's the deal. If people paid you for the session and that's what you wanted, then why would they owe you money?
Because believe it or not, that's the going rate unless, like the people that were in stuff like myself and Dupree, Abigail, amongst us, what we did was tell people that if they wanted us, we wanted triple scale. So if your average musician was getting $110 for a session, we were then getting $330 for a session.
I totally. Again, that is that. Totally understand that. But what was the? Did anybody Did people choose? Maybe some people had saved up a little bit of money, and did they ever go towards the amount of radio play? Did you ever go through anything like that? That was an option. That was an option.
That was not an option. That was not an option. A lot of times it was all for one and one for all. Like you would either do it together or nobody get it wrong. You either go one way or the other way. And there's a lot of times that I've played on dates that they told me it was going to be in the union, and I didn't get paid at all. They still owe me.
So this is fast. Did you? I mean, Gordon, is one reason that like New York and one reason you had so many opportunities to play so much music live in the clubs is because really at that time the
You
Sicilian
hit it on the head.
the Sicilian
That's where we made our money.
I'm sorry.
Playing live.
No, and so what I'm saying is how much of the mafia and the Sicilians owned those clubs.
True. And they own the union too.
Exactly. That was Jimmy Hoffa. That Jimmy.
There you go. So what are we gonna do with it? What are we gonna do with it?
Wow.
I mean, you know, if a kid to me comes up and says, "Oh God, I want to be a musician just like you," I take him in the alley somewhere and slap him and say, "Go be a plumber. You're better off because a plumber got a hell of a union."
I have a feeling though with nobody ever. I mean, Ndugu, the late great Ndugu Chancellor said he only could count on his hand the number of times he got ripped off, and he took those people to court and put them out of business. So I know that, like, I mean, if you did, let's just say this in a going week,
Okay.
Gordon had you putting the live gigs aside, just studio work, couple of cartoons, jingles.
Okay.
Maybe some kind of fusion record. Yeah, 2 record dates, 2 jingles, and so you were owed maybe after taxes, a check for $500 or something, $600. Then
Okay.
you could go to Jim and Andy's and pick that up.
Yeah. That's it. Even home the Barker. When we go to Jim and Andy's, what we would do, we'd go in there, and Jim and Andy would probably know before we knew when we were going to get paid, because we expected a check or we went pick up checks. But on our own, we would just go in there and say, "How much I owe you, Jim? How much I owe you, Andy?" And they would go look at the book and say, $300-something, and you'd hand them a couple of your checks, because you'd have a whole handful of them. I mean, I had so many checks when I went down to the union to pick them up. I had a hand stamper with my signature on it. But I swear to that.
Okay, so I want to be clear. If you did $600 worth of work, you'd go to the union. What was it?
Pick it up from the union.
What was it? 807? 807?
802.
802. And then so you'd have like a barrel full of checks, and then you'd go to Jim and Andy's and have drinks or whatever, and
Right.
they'd have a tab there, and they'd say you owe me this much, and you'd give them a couple of checks or maybe some cash or something.
There you go.
Got it.
Exactly that.
Or you could actually cash your checks there too, right?
We cash them there.
I freaking love, dude. Gordon Edwards. Okay, I want to tell you this. Did you ever hang with James Jamerson?
No, but I do. But we do each other by phone. We do each other, but you're talking about the elite bass player.
I'm talking about, I mean, you're in the same discussion. I mean, he was just doing it in Motown.
Same thing. And in fact, I would say that when people left New York, people were fighting and killing to get into New York.
Right.
If you couldn't make it in New York as a musician, you wasn't going to make no money nowhere unless you were out there actually working out there every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on these clubs, and you would knock it down, say, if you're lucky, $100 a night. If you're lucky.
Were there gigs that, I remember, were you ever, we're talking, by the way, Gordon, I'm going to look this record up right now because I found it the other day.
Okay.
My buddy has probably 15 to 20,000 records in his collection, and I'll get to that in a minute. But were you ever turned away from a gig because of the color of your skin?
Not exactly, because one thing, when I got my jobs, I was fortunate enough to be recommended, like by Chuck Rainey, Jerry Javot. So they had hired them first, and then what would happen, they would say, well, if they couldn't make it, who do you recommend? They would say, Gordon Edwards. And by that chance, your name was already circulated in the And the people that you work for instance, they knew you. You went to their place and you drank or you partied with them, and they knew who you were. When you wasn't working, you'd hang out in their places. They knew me. I never ran into that situation. That was maybe a week before I started working good. It was that close. I got into jazz. I know what you're talking about. You go to places and say you can't work in here because you're black, and I just missed that era by the skin of my teeth. But there were people, and there were some high-class people that played. And then one person I was listening to the other day, she went swimming in the swimming pool, and she was black, and she was a star. They drained the pool.
Dorothy Dandridge.
That's it. A lot of people right there.
Eddie Palmieri told me that story.
And it's the truth. And they drained the pool.
Because I just remember Richard Davis. This was more classical, but he'd be.
Oh, no, but he's a good friend of mine. Love him to death.
I love him.
He's alive still.
He's still. I mean, it's fun. I have to call him because I haven't talked to him in a minute, but he's the freaking man. Okay. So this was the most heartwarming thing I've ever come across in my life. It blew me away. And I need to get, because my buddy was letting me dig through what he said was the scraps of his remaining vinyl that before he donated it, and I'm digging through this, and I pull out this random soul funk album from 1973, and I look on the back, and I'm like, oh, and because it is the stuff. You had Charles Simmons Jr. on keys, Cornell Dupree, right. Alan Herman and Bernard Purdy, Bob Piazza and Gordon Edwards doing bass work. The name of the album, The Family Circle. The album goes for $350. They were a local family out of northern New Jersey. I wasn't sure if you remembered it at all. It is the.
I don't.
Holy cow, this is the most smoking album of all time I've ever heard in my life. Hey, we have a game on this program, Mr. Edwards, called Name That Voice. I'm gonna put this in for you. Pay attention to the content. Come back and break it down.
Well, when you talk about where the one is, that's almost a cliche today. But where the one is once it's established, it doesn't change. No matter how far you extend the chord or the rhythms or the idea, the place where the one began doesn't change. It doesn't alter because you become more complex. It's still there, and I think that we as human beings have the ability to go very, very far and still understand that in this galaxy, the Earth still is revolving around the sun. You know, it's the same thing. Just when Ornette used to tell us, you play a note, and according to one chord, it's a minor third. According to another chord, it's a major seventh. According to another chord, depends. The note changes according to what era or what area you're dealing with as far as the music is concerned. Rhythm is the same way. And with regard to universal law, I think that we as sound scientists are the ones who have to understand that we do not ever lose that one, because the one has established itself. It doesn't change. The sun didn't move over because somebody decided to look at the moon instead of Venus. The sun is.
I know that was hard to hear through the phone. Do you have any idea?
That's all right. Does he play drums?
He's a bass player, and he's a guy. He's a guy I guarantee you that you definitely ran into quite a bit. That was Reggie Workman.
No, I know Reggie.
When did
I wouldn't get with him.
and he was talking about this idea of playing in sheets of sound, and this idea that and again, the guy we just lost was McCoy Tyner, who was part of that legend.
Oh,
Did you?
Prince. I didn't know he was dead.
Yeah, McCoy left us, and I just, Gordon. I mean, you're known so well for, stuff that's just like the stamp. That's like on everybody's forehead in their brains, but. What was the closest thing that you played to modal jazz? I mean, the kind of stuff that Train was doing with that famous quartet, because McCoy and Elvin were laying out those sheets of sound in order for Train to blow over the top of that stuff. And I'm like, I'm just sort of hoping that Gordon Edwards was playing upright and playing in a modal setting somewhere, for 40 minutes. Did that ever go down for you?
Okay, well, first of all, the bass player that I loved the most was an upright bass player that had the most made me change. When I was playing Fender, I played guitar. When I switched to Fender, and when I went to the Fender, the bass player that made me really turn me on the most was a man called Leroy Vinegar.
Oh my God!
And he played with Ahmed Jamal.
Dude, Leroy Vinegar played. There's an album out there that is so ground. 1961.
Get it.
From the Santa Monica airport with Hampton Hawes and Donald Duck Bailey. It is the most mind-blowing trio work I've ever heard. Leroy Vinegar, man, forget about it.
Get it. Because I remember my sister at the time was married to a fellow in the Air Force, and he came home with his Ahmed Jamal record. And I sat down and I listened to the bass player, and for some reason it was almost like he played a tune within a tune. He was playing the bass line, but he was actually playing his own melody tune, and that's where I stole it from, Leroy Vinegar. And I mean, he could play.
Are you sure that it was a Red Garland record, or was it Leroy Vinegar? I mean, was it
Leroy Vinegar was the name of the bass player.
Yeah, no. I'm saying was the I think the album might have been with Red Garland. I'm not sure if Leroy ever played with Ahmad.
Oh, I know he did.
Okay,
because I used to look at the record. I used to play along.
I don't doubt it. I'm just looking for.
And after that, it became Israel Crosby.
So you're telling me he was before Israel Crosby?
Yes, he was.
Holy cow.
I believe Leroy Vinegar died in a car accident on the highway.
What about, were you hip to, I know you were growing up in the boroughs of New York, but I mean, what about Scotty LaFaro? Did he ever come on your radar?
No, but I knew his name, because with bass players, it's very seldom that you would ever run into another bass player, because on a date, there's only usually just one bass player, where you can have a lot of percussion, a lot of horns, a lot of violins, but there's only one bass player.
So, I mean, prior to stuff, because like this Family Circle album that goes for $350, that was 1973.
Right.
What kind of, I know, I mean, this, obviously in high school, I think it was you and Cornell versus Purdy and Rainey. You were going to kick their ass, all the time. And but when you, like late 60s, early 70s, were you in a band that, that might have been something along the lines of, Weather Report or Mahavishnu? I mean, outside of the studio. I mean, I know you were in there all day, but when you got out, what band were you playing in?
I started my own, I believe it or not. For me, when I got work, I basically started my own band, and that was the Encyclopedia of Soul.
Oh, boy.
And we did that much recording, but what happened for us musicians to make money, we were working every weekend. We made more on weekends. Irma Dupree's wife, God rest her soul, she to say we made more on weekends than we did in the studio.
That's hard to believe, actually. That's unbelievable.
Believe it for me, we made more.
Okay, so who was in the band and where were you playing? You playing slugs or where were you playing?
We were for dances, believe it or not.
For dances?
Every weekend there would be dances. Every Friday and Saturday there was a dance. And in my band, believe it or not, I remember playing with Billy Butler was in my band.
Oh my, Billy Butler! Holy!
That day, I'll tell you, some people, once a day, the guitar player, damn, he comes from a family of, oh wow.
Yeah, no, I know. It's Ted Dunbar.
I know Ted Dunbar.
He was a numerologist.
See?
Yeah, no, Purdy told me that. Purdy. What about Boogaloo Joe Jones? Did you play with him?
Joe Jones? Who, Billy?
No, the Boogaloo Joe. Boogaloo Joe. No, never. So it was Billy Butler was in the band. Who was on drums?
Who was on drums at that time? I had people. Purdy was back then, if we could get him, because he was working every weekend himself.
Right.
But our drums at that time was Reggie Barnes, with people that never really. I was the first one, like in the group of musicians that worked in the dancers that really made it big in the recording industry. I was the first one, like, and people would say, "Damn, Gordon, you might make it." And at that time, like I said, I would call him Dupree, and I called him, and he came. It was snowing one day, and someone said, "How I do this guy Dupree because he works with King Curtis?" I said, "Yeah, but I don't know." And sure enough, I called him up, and I was offering him at that time. I offered him something like $35 to do the job, and he said, "Make him 45 or 50." I said, "No, I said, well, I might make it to 40." And he did it for 40, and he came on the subway and carried the amp on his shoulder.
Oh my God!
And this was at the time when he was with Curtis. It was hard, and we weren't smart about it, dealing with our money. See what it was easy come, easy go. And you needed some money, you go and you sit in this place and you pick up $50, $60, and you're working 3-4 days a week, and that was a lot of money back in those times. We talk about the '60s.
Well, that's the other part of it is that I think I might have located this. Oh no, it's Israel Crosby on bass. I don't know. I mean, I would never doubt Gordon Edwards. I still can't find this Vinegar album with Ahmad.
You can't. Well, I'll tell you, I know it was Ahmad because he was in fact, remember he opened a club called like the Alhambra. He opened up a club that didn't sell liquor.
Dude, listen to me. I'm looking at Alhambra, 1961 on Argo, but it says Israel Crosby on bass and Vernel Fournier on drums. I don't see.
Okay, well it was before that.
Because Vinegar really made his hay on the West Coast. I mean, that's what I know him from, as being a West Coast jazz cat. But anyway, this has to be further vetted. Nobody. So I mean, $40. Listen, people had a Fender Rhodes. By the time they dragged that suitcase model over to the club in the taxi and got their $5 for playing for the night and took the cab home, I mean, they probably broke even for the night. It was.
No, believe it or not, well, in those days, the flag, when the cab put down his flag, it was only about 35 cents.
I believe
that was for the first quarter mile.
And the traffic was minimal compared to what it was. I mean, you could blow up from the half. Did you hang at the half note? I mean, were you like?
No, I didn't. Because believe it or not, I was not per se a jazz kind of person.
I want to ask you a question though. No, I get that you weren't a jazzer, but was that a can you talk about was it an inside club? Was it exclusive? Like, was it like bop purists that were like, well, did you feel like you just didn't want to go there because it was kind of
I didn't want to go there because I didn't per se like the music.
Interesting.
And to me, I used to always say, man, those guys are really playing. They feel like they would just play anything that came out their horn, just press any key, and whatever came out, they would say, that's jazz going. My cousin was Chris White.
I know.
Bass player, and I used to listen to him play with people in his band, and they would just play, and I said, well, what the hell is that? And I would stay there for about a half hour. I said, I gotta get out of here before I lose my mind.
Now, did you think that it wasn't really music, or it was stuff you didn't understand, and so you didn't like you
Well, evidently, it had to be music because it was around a long time.
Yeah.
Who am I to argue? It's been like I said around a long time, but I didn't understand it. It didn't make. See, my mother, when I started playing, and she saw me getting interested in music, which I started on the violin, and that's why everything in classical music had the melody, it had the people that backed the melody, but throughout the whole piece, you would play A to B, then you would take the repeat side, go back to A, and regardless what they were playing, you see and feel the context of the tune. And like when I play bass, if I don't even know where I'm at, in my head sometimes, I'm singing or playing the tune in my head. And so, like, a lot of people say, well, Gordon, how do you get lost? I don't get lost because I know what the melody is long before I get there.
Okay, so I want to read you this. I did an interview with George Cables at his house in Queens.
Okay.
All right, and this is what he talked about. He said, Jake, what you're talking about is something called Rhythm Associates. That was started by Chris White and Rudy Collins.
I knew them both as well. I remember Rudy Collins.
Okay, see, who were in the rhythm section for Dizzy. The goal was to teach you, so they'd meet up at 1805, Billy Cobham, George Cables. The goal was to teach you how to play in a rhythm section, play like a rhythm section, play and interact like it was Billy, myself, and Clint Houston went as a rhythm section. They were just thinking about bass and drums, and they saw me with the piano. He said, that's okay. Next thing you know, Larry Willis was there, and he was a big influence on me. The point is that these guys, Billy Cobham, Cables, these are guys of your generation, and they were young and showing up at 1805 Broadway. And these guys like Rudy and Grady Tate and Chris White, I mean, they had been playing until 2 or 3 in the morning. They were in bad shape and cranky. But for $2.50, you could go in and learn how to play as a rhythm section with those guys.
But they needed the money. That's what I was trying to tell you. We came, our shoes were always shine. We always pressed out our pants so they had a crease in them. But that was it. We didn't have no money in the pocket. And 9 out of 10 times, the guy at the door would let us in free because we were more or less holding a seminar for other young musicians. But those guys, I feel, in their heart, wanted to express and train people how to play jazz.
Right.
I never had that feeling.
Right. I mean, like, so you actually really, was there, like, Ahmad Jamal Trio Jazz, that was
it.
I'm saying that was palatable that was good for your ear. That was the kind of jazz you liked. What I mean, or you just
I would say that was my first taste of jazz.
It's your first taste of dig.
Like a Ponciano, things like Ponciano.
Yep.
Tune. Oh man, and like he would take tunes that we hummed all our life, like London Bridges Falling Down.
Sure.
Things like that, and he would just put the drummer had the drum beat behind it, and he would play piano with one finger up at the right hand. But that was me. That's how I got broken the first bass player we talked about was the upright bass player.
Leroy Vinegar.
No, the one that was started teaching out in the West Coast in Colorado.
Charlie Hayden?
No, you told me it's the upright bass player. I always remember his bass because the bass had a wooden head. The head had a head carved on it. On the top of that bass.
He was teaching out in
He left New York in the studio to go out to
we got to get that. We got to know.
You said it. You said it in the beginning.
I did?
And you would have said, I said, yes, I know him very well. How's he doing?
Hold on for a second here. Who are we talking about? Now I'm.
You brought it up.
I know I brought it up. Now I'm upset. He was Colorado. He went to Colorado?
He went to, I believe it was Colorado, to teach music.
All right, it'll come back to me in a minute.
It comes with age. Don't worry about it. It happens to me every day.
Okay, so, let's just look at this here. Charles Williams, Hank Crawford.
I remember Hank Crawford. I played with him.
No, I'm going through your discography here, and I want to be very clear. For you to say that you were not, maybe you didn't like the jazz, but Grover Washington Jr., Gene Harris, these guys are all jazzers. So how could you say you didn't understand it?
Because you know what? Instead of me going against their world, what happened? They came into my world. Because jazz, even today, I have a friend of mine that opened up a club, and he went out of business because jazz. We say, yeah, you open up a jazz club, you're gonna starve, because the person's gonna come in with one bottle of beer and shake back and forth, and that's all he's gonna buy. But it was the people that more or less the crossover with the blues and
yeah, totally.
Yeah, but it had a tinge of jazz, but basically it was blues, like how Ray Charles. He was, what would you call him? Now, what would you call Ray Charles?
Sanctified Soul.
Well, that's what I am. I'm sanctified soul. Now you hear it all there. The first time I ever bought a record in my life, I saved up my money to buy Hallelujah, Yes, I Love Her So, made by Ray Charles.
Bless Ray Charles, man. Jesus.
That's it. And I saw his last concert at Carnegie Hall. I remember when I was going in there, not Thad Jones, man. Who was,
Richard, were you talking about Richard Davis, by the way?
That's what we talk about, Davis.
Davis.
That was the best. He was the real first upright bass player that I played with in the studio was Richard Davis. And I remember he complimented me. He said, man, keep it up. I've been in the studio maybe a year. Not working that much. He said, keep it up, man. I think you got the touch for this. Because I wouldn't play, I usually used to play a bass, electric bass like a guitar, fast and everything. And Jerry Jamot used to just tell me, man, let me tell you something. Slow down. You're going too fast. And now I'm the slowest person in the world. In the whole world. But I'm not going to lie. Because when I play, I want it to mean something. And I tell the drummers the same thing. Like, just don't make them feel here and all willy-nilly, whatever you want to make them feel. When you make them feel, make it mean something. So that if a band is playing around you, even if they get lost, they hear this feel, they say, oh, we're going back to A. Okay. Just don't be playing them, Phil. And that's the secret about good stuff. It could be 5 of us up there, but each of us played in a certain area where we played that was pleasant to the ear, but it meant something. And what we played in bar 1, we played in bar 99.
I know, and so you would say, I couldn't ask a better person because I respect you so much. Did you look at people like Yusef Lateef and Coltrane as just, was it noise to you?
It was never noise because when I started playing to them, that was the time when they were bridging over to my gap.
Yeah.
In other words, I didn't go to play on them just because of the tunes they played, say, 10 years prior to me listening to them. I went there because they had made a recording that year, and I liked them for what they were doing just in that period of time.
Right.
Not prior to them. But that period of time, I loved them. Like you said, that jazz, like Hallelujah, Yes, I Love Her So. That's right.
Yeah, you were you were an American songbook, like bebop, maybe not so much, but some kind of something in there where it was like.
I hated bebop.
I know you did.
Oh, really? All the scat. I hated it. What is he going crazy? But it made money, and I found out that anything I played to, I was a band leader, and I played with the guy that sang "Tiptoe Through the Tulips." Tiptoe
Oh my God!
through the tulips. That's right. And I was with him because he would say, "Call me Mr. Gordon." And oh man, what's this guy? Anyway, he played ukulele, but I learned one thing.
What was it, Tiny Tim?
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
That's right.
Oh my God!
That's right.
When you what can you talk? Do you have a memory of being on the phone with It's so tragic. James Jamerson, when they moved out to Los Angeles, Motown, he was really having a hard time with alcohol and drinking, and he stopped playing, and it's really interesting because Gene Page, who was Barry White's musical director,
Right.
So when Jamerson was unable to be used as a reliable session player, Barry Gordy had Gene Page write out what he thought Jamerson would be playing as the bass lines for tunes, right?
That's right.
Okay, so nobody in LA could play those bass lines because they were so unique to Jamerson, except one person. And that one person was Wilton Felder, who could read flypaper because he was a saxophone player. So he was a great sight reader, so he could sight read these insane bass lines. Did you know that?
I love that group too, the Jazz Crusaders.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, Wilton Felder and Gordon Edwards, send me to my grave in peace, dude. Unreal.
Really?
Unreal, man. That to me is Gulf Coast. Why? Explain why White. It's interesting because the more I go back and talk to bands that were crossing over from blues into R&B, that Gulf Coast jazz of the Crusaders or Les McCann, those were tunes that could be understandable by. That could be played, put it where you want it, or compared to what? What is it about those tunes that make them more digestible and understandable to an ear as opposed to maybe something like free jazz?
I would say simplicity. Put it where you want it. It started off as halfway through the tune, you still had that groove going on.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have it going on, the person playing would come back to that groove to remind you what was going on.
Did you get to hang with Wilton Felder at all?
No.
Yeah.
I tell you, like I said, a bass player never hung out that much together unless you hung out with Jim and Andy.
You were going to be kicking their ass, dude. You and Rainey were hanging out at Jim and Andy's a little bit.
That's what Radio Registry was the biggest recording industry here that gets you jobs in the studio. And if somebody didn't make a job with sick or everything, Jim and Andy's had a phone hookup to Radio Registry. And the Radio Registry would call and say, we need a bass player at CBS. And you say, well, who's doing the job? Who's doing it? Yeah, okay, I'll take that. They would say, well, we got Gordon Edwards here.
This is so epically class. Just so good to hear Gordon Edwards' voice again.
Hey,
You know,
I'll be here 10 years from now.
dude, you are going to be here before. I'm only 42, man. I feel like you're going to be here well past me. I mean, it is.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Oh man.
Okay.
You know, I mean, did you have, just circling back to Cornell? I mean, did you get to play live with, or did you get to hang with Curtis Mayfield at all?
Curse people? No, but I knew him.
Like,
So,
and you and like you played on Donny Hathaway recordings, but did you play live with Donny?
not live, but in recording. When it came to live, that was what you call your prime gigs. And at that time, he would get people like Chuck Rainey. See, when I was coming up, Chuck Rainey was God. So what happened, when they would call, there might be 9 jobs going on at one time, and so they called Chuck, he said, he can't make it. Well, they would have, each producer would have his own list. And he said, well, okay, you can't make it, Chuck. Then he would call Jerry Jamat. Jerry Jamat could make it. Then he'd call Gordon Edwards. It would go down the line like that.
So Rainey was God, and then you
was God.
you were slotted in somewhere with like was you and Jamat were kind of like tied for second. You think?
Jamat was definitely second.
Jamat, I love the respect you're paying. So Jamat was second, and Edwards was like third. You think?
Third.
Third. Who would round out the top 5? Herb Bushler?
Well, see, that was what it is. Those guys, you can say it now, they had the prime jobs because what it was, the people that we played for would say the top echelon of black people that were singing. The white bass players now, they were working with people like Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And that was the extreme. When I saw Frank Sinatra perform, I was sitting in the audience. I mean, oh man.
Well, Sinatra, to his credit, did have a mixed band. He was
Yes,
one.
he did. He had a black bass player.
He did. And even like
It was Ray Brown.
right, and even like Nina Simone had Gene Perla on bass. So that I mean,
right.
some of the I just like. I'm just. Can you talk about? I mean, do you have?
Yeah, she was a nut job too.
Of course, we were all nut job.
When I walked, she came in the first time I was doing her recording,
Yeah.
and she said, because she never knew me. She said, who's that? I said, well, he's Gordon Edwards. I don't know if I know Gordon Edwards. She came up to me and said, when were you born, Gordon? I said, February 24th. Were you a Pisces? Yeah. He's okay. He can play.
Hey, she would have been cool. I'm a Pisces too. That's great.
That's right, right? So she walked. I said, he can play.
You played with. Can you talk a little bit about Roy Ayers? Like, what was
Yes,
his?
I can.
What was the vibe? What was the vibe like with Roy? Because you played on a lot of his albums. He idolized Cal Tjader coming from the West Coast, but when you're playing on all these albums that I've obsessed about for years, including Virgo Red and just a litany of stuff. What was it like? What was that like being in the studio with him?
He was a nut job. He was out there, but he could play. He was so close to becoming the number one man with vibes. Of course, there was only Lionel Hampton, but Lionel Hampton could compare with who was just talking
Roy
about.
Ayers. Really? Roy Ayers was.
No. I did that. The last jobs was Lionel Hampton, and he would come and he would take a bag lunch, and I would sit behind him while I played bass, and he would put it on the vibes, and he'd be trying to play sometimes. Oh, I shouldn't say this, man. Anyway, he would play the vibes with the bag on the vibraphone, and we would play in a certain key. I remember saying, "Hey man, could you do me a favor? Could you move that bag over just an inch or two because we're playing the key D, and you're setting it on the D and the C vibraphone, so you never can hit that. You need to hit that." I mean, there's some things that go on in the studio that people don't realize.
Wait. I don't know. He was trying to make it. He was trying to make it. He was trying to make it.
He had a lunch bag with him, right? With a sandwich in it.
Right.
So while he's playing, instead of him putting the lunch bag on the floor or on a chair, he laid it on top of his vibraphone. But he would lay it on the. We played on C, with the key C or D, whatever key. You can't lay it on that key or that note there, because that's why the thing's in the key of C or the key of D.
Well, what would he say to you? He said, "No, f you, screw you."
He moved the bag.
He moved the bag.
It makes sense what I was saying. He moved the bag.
Did you ever get flown out to the West Coast to record, or were you always on the East Coast?
No, I was flown out there a lot of times. I flew out there. I would do work. I did quite a few jobs, but I was really an East Coast man. East Coast and Philadelphia, because I was South Soul's bass player.
Sal, so was that down at Sigma Sound, or where were you recording down there?
Sigma Sound in Philadelphia.
In Philly, yeah.
Right. I was their bass player.
Man, and you're telling me that. So at the end of the day, did Cornell just wasn't smart with his money? I mean, I know you're a veteran. You're in
He had a large family. And he started, like that, we call it chicken circuit. He was there, and when you had a family those days, there was just no like a relief fund or unemployment for musicians. That's
Right.
the thing. We didn't pay into the unions and things like that. And it was just, if you had 4 or 5 kids and you were working, the only money you got was the money that you got when you were geeking on the outside. And by the time you get a good job and bring it home, it was absorbed by the money that you had borrowed from your leader or other people. It was hard, man.
No, I mean it's. Did you?
It's hard to believe that because of who they are today. In other words, they opened the door for a lot of people to learn how to play and listen to them. But they had a hard time kicking down the door.
Well, they were the ones that did kick down the door to a degree, and then they fought for. Even now, did you have health insurance through the union?
Health insurance. No, man. Health insurance. I just recently got it now. And I was in the union. I was in the Army. I was in the post office. All these things I did before prior to becoming a full-time musician. And I said that to my mother, because she would say, you know, you got to have a job. She never considered, like, music a real job.
Right.
And it just so happened, I listened to my mother. I first went from high school into the Army, which had a uniform and paid you every month. Then from there, I went from the Army into the post office, which had a uniform and a steady paying job. And what started me was one day when I was playing, I was in the post office, and I got a call from Cornell University from Dupree and Richard T. And they said, Gordon, can you get down here this evening? I said, why? I said, because a recent bass player can't make the job.
Huh.
I said, oh, shit. And they said, we looked at the schedule. You have to be at the airport like an hour and a half. And I was working at the post office delivering mail. And I remember going up. I said, well, hell, who wouldn't want to play with a Aretha when you was growing up? And I went up to my boss. I said, look, boss, you know I'm cool. And I do anything you want me to do for you. But I got to get out of here now. And he let me go. And I put my clothes over my uniform. That's right. And I jumped and got to a cab, went home, picked up my bass, got to the airport, and that's when I had my first real major job. And I played at Cornell University, and I never saw so many people in my life. I freaked. I never thought that anything was that big in my life.
Okay, I just need. This is mind blowing. I'm sorry. Where you were in?
I was in Brooklyn.
And you flew out of JFK and went where?
I flew out of JFK to Cornell University.
You flew into upstate New York?
That's right.
Oh my God! And then who picked you up? T and Cornell picked you up, or what?
One time they saw coming, she had somebody there. I can't remember.
Oh my
It
God!
wasn't nobody I knew because they were just looking at the music at that time.
Oh my God! So it was you, Richard T, Cornell.
Definitely.
Was it Purdy on drums?
I believe it was Purdy.
Oh my God! Gordon, before we wrap up set 2 here with the legendary, just dropping knowledge on us. I think Jamaat worked at the post office too.
In fact, I got all of them in the post office because I was doing both. I got to a point where I was doing post office work because it was an easy job that you could get off 9 times out of 10 if you really wanted to.
Who else did you get a job there? Jamaat? Who else?
The other ones weren't musicians, but they were all personal friends of mine.
I did. Yeah. What a great gig. I mean, can you tell me about playing with Levon Helm and Paul Butterfield?
And who was the other one you just said?
I noticed Paul Butterfield. I mean, this was where
Paul Butterfield. We became close best friends.
Because did you have a house? Did you have? Because I know Rainey and those cats. They used to have summer houses up in Woodstock. I mean, did you go up?
That's where I went up to the place for them at. It was in Woodstock.
Exactly. So what was that like? I mean, that's.
It was great, but by that time, that was at the very beginning of stuff, and we didn't even know at that time. But I felt at that time. People told me at that time, like we got how can we say we got sideswiped. In other words, take a man like I'm gonna give you a special. This is a special.
Hit me.
No one knows this, but you're the first person I've been told this to that can hear it. Take a man like his name is a little short guy, Paul Simon.
Yes.
I was in his studio. That's when I first started working for him. And he, in turn, was rewriting it. That's when he did this album for gospel. For gospel album.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's like Still Crazy after all these years. Got it. All right.
Okay, we getting there.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was, I was sitting there, and he wrote this tune, which he also had Phoebe Snow sing on it. Now, he wrote the beginning, like a tune basically is A, that's the opening, then you got B, which is the middle of the tune, and then you usually go back to A, and then you finish the tune. A, B, A, and then finish. Well, he did A all right, but he didn't have no B part. I sat up there, and he couldn't do it. We were just sitting there. We were setting up for sandwiches eating. And all of a sudden, I said, you know what we can do? Why don't we do this like stuff we're doing? And I walked up to Richard T. I said, listen to this, Paul. And I gave him the whole second half of his tune. And the tune was Phoebe Snow sung on it. Ah, boy.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up. Hold on. We got to get this. So he had nothing past the A part.
That's right. That's what he had.
Okay, I'm going to look this up here and see what track it was here. Let's see. Gone at Last?
Gone at Last.
Gordon Edwards, you are dropping. I mean, Christmas has come early here on the Jake Feinberg.
No one knows about this, but the people that were there. I'll tell you who's still alive that was there. The drummer, Steve Gadd, was there. And I said, Richard T., go to the minor of the tune. What's the minor? And I said, do we do this just like we did stuff? I did it. We did it just like we would do stuff. The next thing I knew, it was released, one of the hit tunes. Phoebe still came and sang on it. And to make a long story short, all I got out of that was a gold album, which I deserved anyhow, for doing that actual record recording. I didn't see one dime.
You know, I was gonna.
Did that give me credit first for that?
Well, no, I'm curious about like in reality, you and Richard T should have been getting writing credits on that.
Oh, but and I told Richard T what to play. I mean, chord by chord.
Was this a matter of like, if you went up to Simon, he'd be like, "Oh, you got to talk to my manager." Or something?
No. This was, we were in the studio. We were playing with ourselves. We had nothing to do. And we're sitting in the studio, and all of a sudden, I said, do it like this, Richard T. I gave him the chords, the notes, and everything. And Paul sat on the side with his guitar between his legs. And when I put it all together, he said, we'll do that. I didn't know at that time, how much money that'd be worth. I've been probably talking to you through a gold phone now.
Dude, this is below. I mean, you just laid it. Now, are you?
I'm telling you, I'm giving you.
It's the gold. Dude, we're going into the gold mine right now. No, listen,
This is it. I've never told anybody else in the writing or the broadcasting or the reporting business this story. My closest friends knew about it. You would think he'd say, give the dog a bone or something, or put even on the credits on the album written by Paul Simon and Gordon Edwards. Nothing. In fact, you know how he thanked me? He thanked me by taking my two men out of stuff. Richard T. and Steve Gadd. Because I couldn't afford to pay those guys the kind of money he was offering them.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. What did he do at the? He said.
He took. In other words, he made the Paul Simon band.
Right, and you were.
I wasn't in the band, but Richard T was in the band, and Steve Gadd was in the band. In other words, he took my best sideman that I used in stuff.
Yeah, because he knew he couldn't look on the stage every time you would play that song and look you in the eyes and.
And you're right about that, because I didn't work for him after that.
No, and you know what? I do want to ask you. It may be naive, but just because I'm somebody who's always poking around and you get to a point like 70.
No, don't be naive. Tell me. I'm the
Yeah,
one.
no. What I'm saying is, like, after 70 minutes, I was able to poke and prod, and then I get this story out of you. Do you think, regardless of, I mean, I don't think you guys had, you were in the studio trying to figure this out, eating sandwiches. If you had gone up to him and said, I mean, you have pride, but if you went up and said, hey, man, I just made that song. Can we work something out? Would he have responded to that?
I don't know what he would have done me, but I was too ignorant.
Okay.
I just got this. Like, I was just getting to the point where I'm working with Dusty Springfield. I'm just breaking the crust of the cream de la crop. I was just getting to that point, and you don't want to, in those days, make waves, especially when you're a big 6'3" black man. You try to hide very quietly in the corner so people don't know that you're a 6'3" black man.
It's really hard to hide.
It's hard. But what happened, all the work started coming in one way or the other. And the record is a success. And she's singing, well, never mind what she's singing. But
Well, and then, yeah, I mean, you know what? And you're going to still be here 10 years from now. And, so you are,
Hey.
Listen, man,
we'll make a great book.
I'm putting the Gordon Edwards book together. Let's do part 3 next week, man.
There you go. It'll be a good book.
So yeah, I'll reach out to you next. We'll find the time. We'll do part 3. All right.
Anytime, pal.
Yeah, man.
I've got nothing to do but play with myself.
Listen. I'm glad you're in a good place in that VA. You stay healthy, and I'll call you soon.
That disease running around.
Damn, man, it's just getting started, man.
Well, God said, pestilence will get us.
I heard that. That was the other. You said you dropped some knowledge today, Gordon. You go be cool and go let the body dance.
Hey, don't worry, pal.
Yeah, man.
If you want to escape life sometime when it gets real bad, come and hang out with me because I'm not going nowhere.
As soon as this thing clears up, I'll be up there with Chris Parker playing conga drums with you.
Yeah, well, I had him on my job the other day.
No, I love that cat, man.
He's a very beautiful person.
He
And he tore his hiney with me too, but I swear to God, because wasn't nobody going to use them. Nobody. And I said, enough is enough. It happened a long time ago. And I went to him, I said, I'm going to forgive you, Chris. And he knew when it happened. And that's when I started using them, like for my birthday party and things like that. But for a long time. Well, that'll be the next time we talk.
Next time, gone at last. Set 2 in the books. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. Be cool.
If you're very, stay well.
You too, man. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Peace. Wow, that was a salt of the earth interview right there with Gordon Edwards. We'll be back in about an hour with Danielle Cazier on the Jake Feinberg Show.